So what is your personal stance on the changes to the overlay curriculum?
In my personal view, removing the overlays from the general education package is an excellent thing to do. Uh, One of the problems that we were running into across campus, uh, particularly with curricula that are tied as engineering, what have you, the students didn't have much choice to pick within a category. They had to pick something that had the overlay. And I can tell already in registration that there are many more paths now that students can use to go through the general education package. So it seems to be the right thing to do, yeah.
Mm-hmm. How does this change affect students that are under your advising, and how you would suggest they take courses?
It hasn't really. I mean, other than giving more options,
Mhm.
it hasn't harmed anything. I think that the terrain that's covered by the overlays is important terrain to cover, but maybe not so much in classes.
Mhm.
I mean, I think it's important to be socially responsible and environmentally aware, but we also have to be able to staff. So we have a practical problem. We have to be able to staff the classes to teach them, and even if we could, there are some kinds of classes that just don't lend themselves to the overlays. So I'm actually kind of pleased to see them gone, so that I can help students get where they want to be with the classes that interest them more. But I'm a curricular liberal, which basically means I like students to have choices. Yeah.
Yeah. Does this change impact the courses that the philosophy department is going to be offering in the next few years?
Well, the writing across the curriculum classes are staying as they were. We have a couple of classes in that overlay. We have some social responsibility stuff that Dr. Kretz does. That's going to stay in the classes. It's just not going to be assessed in the same way. So it's actually, removing the overlays doesn't affect the department much. It affects the students in the department. The only faculty member that, well, I should rephrase that. Dr. Stein, I think, has a class with an overlay that she doesn't have to attend to anymore. So the significance for the faculty is really, again, just loosening up some time that was taken to make sure that they were met. The spirit of them is still in there. Mm-hmm. In the classes. In fact, I would guess that the spirit of the overlays is met in several classes, taught by several faculty who don't want to take the time to formalize all of this. Yeah.
Can you explain how the changes to the curriculum went into effect to the best of your ability?
I have no idea. I probably most people around here know that I tried to get them removed last year, and they didn't go anywhere, and I quit paying attention, so I'm not sure if it went behind closed doors or it was done in committee or what have you. I just know that one day I got an announcement that said that they weren't going to be there anymore. Much to my surprise, too, apparently students can take one gen ed class in their major, and I've not seen that come through any channel at all. It's just the computer seems to be telling me that counts, so yeah.
Why do you think the changes would benefit incoming students, and does it negatively impact students who have already taken a few years under that previous curriculum?
It has negatively impacted a few students. I know of one particular case where the student came in as a freshman, she was very responsible and took her gen eds, but not her overlays, and then had to do overlay courses on top of gen eds to meet the overlays. And so she took maybe 50 hours of gen ed instead of 40. And there aren't many of those stories, but there are a few stories that are like that. I don't think it's ever good when you have to waive a general education requirement 2 years in a row to bring people in. That suggests, in my mind, that the previous package with the overlays was not well thought out. Just from an implementation standpoint, I mean, if you're gonna offer overlays as part of general education, some forethought needs to go into how are these classes going to be taught, how are they going to be offered, are there going to be enough sections, are we going to be able to staff the classes needed for all of these students? And it seems obvious that the answer to those questions would have been no, and turned out to be no, so they were removed. For freshmen that are coming in, I think it's only positive. I mean, it was a kind of gridlock in general education that got removed. It's kind of like taking down a traffic jam. So, yeah.
If given a choice, would you have removed the overlays like as a whole, or would you have changed how they were structured?
I would have not put them in there in the first place. Yeah. There are, by the way, there are places that have overlays. USI has a kind of a system with overlays as well. It's just, it limits the number of permutations to get through a curriculum. I can understand why we want to make the content of the overlays part of the curriculum, but in principle, I think they warp classes from what the classes need to be. So it's not like I want to say the overlay content was unimportant. It's just we can't do everything, I guess. University can't do everything for everybody and every part of society. So you got to sort of make choices as to what it is that we think we should be doing. Personally, I wouldn't have put them in there. But personally, my gen ed package would be much leaner than a list anyway. I basically, well, when I was an undergrad, my general education package was that you could only take 10 courses in your major. So a full three-quarters of your curriculum had to come from other departments. We weren't even told which ones. But you couldn't take more than 10 in any of them. So you were forced out. And if you think that the purpose of a gen ed is to broaden a student's education, then I want the maximum latitude for that we can. And I also want students to find their passions by taking these other classes. So I want maximum latitude of choice in the general education as well.
What alteration would you personally make to benefit students based on the new system?
I wrote a very long proposal about this, and we got 42% of faculty signing the proposal. Basically, it looks like there were 6 main changes that were advocated for in the general education proposal, and some of them are being implemented anyway. One of them was the removal of the overlays. Another was removing assessment from the courses to let the teachers have a little more freedom in the classroom to tailor classes to students, and those have basically been taken care of. Other things I would do is I basically would move back to disciplines rather than these kind of abstract areas like what are they? I don't even know what they're called anymore. Yeah, I would just as soon you say you take 2 social science courses. Here's a list of social science classes. You're going to take 3 humanities courses or 2 humanities courses. There's a list of humanities courses. I wouldn't separate humanities into history, literature, philosophy, and religion. Again, to give students more latitude. Yeah.
How has the self-service system that we've implemented changed your advising techniques?
It's made it easier because I can't tell what's going on. No, I think it's very beneficial for students to be able to click a box and see what their choices are in the various categories and get descriptions of the classes. So you'll notice that the signs around campus that were advertising basically by number and letter for classes have kind of disappeared because now the students can actually see what's available in the classes that they need. This is great if it's accurate. I have no choice now but to trust that the computer is going to tell me what a student really needs to take and what have you. Before this self-service was implemented, I would have to look at the transcript. I'd have to know the gen ed. I'd have to look and see if they met the gen ed and all that. And now that I'm not doing that, something could get in without me knowing it. But hey, if it's accurate, it's all the better. Yeah, this self-service portal was an excellent move forward. Yeah, even with some limitations that we're having implementing it.
How have the standards of graduation changed since you started teaching here?
I'm going to go with some colleagues who said that they haven't really. Dr. Connolly has sort of a dare with gen ed packages, and he says basically that if you took the courses in all the general education packages that the university has ever had, you just took the classes and took the templates out and left the classes there, that you probably see they were the same classes, just arranged differently. And I have a sense that's probably true. The classes I'm teaching now for gen ed were the same ones I was teaching for gen ed under the previous package. Most of them were there in the package before that. So it's really a question of how you scramble the templates, but the classes seem to remain the same. So I don't think there's really been much by way of change to speak of. Yeah.
Okay, and how do you see this change altering the graduation track for people who are already enrolled in it?
It's easier for them, definitely, as it should be. I mean, for some of my students who were trying to figure out how they were going to meet these overlays, they just simply don't have to worry about it anymore. So as I said, it's like just taking out a traffic jam, removing a traffic jam. So it's easier. I don't think it's hurt the quality of education by any means to take them out. It's much more practical, and I'm glad that they did.